Ahoy, mateys! 'Tis I, Captain Horatio Honeyflakes, and I be here to tell you about me newest crowdfunding campaign. The adventures continue with me crew, the Mighty Mascots, in issues 7, 8, and 9. Just focus your looking glass on the amazing artwork of Ian Warianto and Anton Bondi. Me crew, the Mighty Mascots, are up against some scurvy scallywags, and we need ye help to defeat them. There be a bounty of exclusive treasure, only available here, where X marks the spot. I spy a huge coffer of bonuses and stretch goals on the horizon. Then please consider pledging so we can continue these adventures with the weirdest crew I ever had the pleasure of sailing with. Mascots Unleashed!
Hey, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Indie Comics Relay. I'm your host, Keith Gleason, creator of the Mighty Mascots, promoter for the Plastic City Comic-Con. With me, as always, Johnny C., creator of Surrounded by Death, Sartana, and The Pond. And our newest co-host, Harry G.,
hey, everybody.
Artist extraordinaire. What's up? What's up,
Well,
fellas?
Before anything else, happy belated birthday to our fearless host of the show. Celebrated his birthday over the weekend.
Yeah, you know how I celebrated it? Yes.
How'd you do it?
Working at the store.
Hey, so I've always been told that working on your birthday builds character. So do you feel any more built as a character?
No, not at all. But no, it was like kind of a last minute thing. Birthdays, I don't really celebrate all that much, and then someone called out and like I was like, do I help them out and go in? And I was like, yeah, I'll do it. So I
Happy
wanted
birthday.
5 hours.
Yeah, you're you. Keith.
Yeah,
You're a good dude, man.
So I was like, why not? So how you gents do? Thank you for the birthday wishes. I do.
So make sure if you're watching this video, even if it's like a week from now, say happy birthday to Keith.
Right.
Yeah, I have to go through all my Facebook messages that everyone left me.
Of course, yeah. At
Yeah,
least
it's
give him
always
a little whatever,
give them a little like, on everybody's if I can, So,
You look younger, Keith, actually.
do I really? Thank you.
Keith is actually Benjamin buttoning, so
Right,
you know
right.
he's about halfway through right now.
I don't know. I inside I feel like 103, but
Did
outside I guess I look okay.
I feel it in my knees and my back, man. Let me tell you what.
Do. Every day I'm wearing. Whenever we go to the gym, I have my like knee pads I gotta wear.
Yeah.
I feel like and I have these arm things. They look like this. They're for like if you get like, because I do a lot of typing and work on the computer with the lettering, so I get tennis elbow a lot. So I'm constantly wearing those at work.
Yeah.
I went in like a couple weeks ago. One of the kids was looking at me like I was putting on all my gear, and I was
You're
like,
ready
"Dude,
to get
this
into
is
the
all
ring."
my old man gear that I need,
Yeah.
to function."
Do you guys have that those clicks in your knees yet? When your
What's
knee
that?
bends?
Oh, yeah. I get all
clicks.
that stuff.
You know what I
Nice.
get? It's in the small of my back, Harry, and I actually experienced it walking back to the hotel from the bar. It's like 6 blocks.
Yeah.
I get like a crunching in the
crunching.
back of my lower back.
God.
So every step I take, it's like a crunching noise. I'm like, oh, I'm going to pay for this later on.
Yeah, absolutely. You're probably about 5 years away from like that showing like as like something really bad,
Something bad, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I feel like my knees, like if I lost like 30 pounds, it'd probably be okay. My knees would probably be okay, but,
Yeah.
and it's like one of those things. You get older, and
That's just the way
everything
it goes,
starts falling apart.
Now that we've depressed the audience fully, let's
right.
transition to the comments.
Yeah, right.
Going back to Benjamin Buttons, do you guys think that that movie stole that idea from Mork and Mindy
Keith?
and Mirth?
What is it?
Remember Jonathan Winters?
Yeah,
like-
no,
I don't recall
if they
that.
did, that's a pretty deep cut.
Yeah.
Well,
But you know what though? Stories are just stolen over time. You know what I mean?
Actually, you know what? I think whatever kind of alien Mork was, they start off young. Well, no, that's stupid because I think they start off really old, and that's Benjamin Buttons. They stole that. All right, anyway, go ahead.
It's the same idea. If like you look at Filmation's Ghostbusters, and then there's the Ghostbusters that we commonly know. Although that Ghostbusters predates that. So, you know, did Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis sit around, you know, reminisce on that old, you know, sketch from way back when and then make their own take on it? You know?
Yeah. You never know. One thing I was going to update you guys on too, I got my drive back from Best Buy finally yesterday.
And did you get everything restored?
Yeah, I was. They were able to recover almost all of it, and the stuff that was only a partial seems to be like, you know, videos from my iPhone, which I'm not as concerned with. You know,
and those are maybe backed up to a cloud somewhere, or
no, I don't think they are. So, but I looked at which videos it was, and it didn't seem like it was anything that important, you know, that I'm gonna like be angry that I don't have, you know.
Well, that's a win though. Let me think about that. You restored everything that you thought was missing, so it'll be less of a hit. And again, I will encourage, get a Dropbox, write it off on your taxes, use it for comics. Because I mean, it happened to me once. I used to keep all my work on a thumb drive.
Okay.
And I remember one night after work, I was still working in sales. I went out to a bar with some friends, and I got home and I reached in my pocket and it was missing. I go, oh no. And the bar was pretty far away. Okay. So I had to drive like an hour back to where the bar was to look for it. Luckily enough, I found it. It was in the parking lot.
Oh, wow.
So I did find it, but I'm like, and then ever since then, it's just like have it backed up to some form of, and back then I think it was like Box was like the main cloud storage thing that everybody was using. So, you know, then I migrated to Dropbox, and that's where I've been ever since.
How much is the Dropbox a month that you pay? How much is it?
I pay annually, and I think it's about like $120 a year, but it's like 2 terabytes. And it's a ton of data, and I could
save everything.
I back up everything from photos to my phone to like, you know, all sorts of stuff I need access to on the go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, luckily the people that retrieved Keith's videos actually called China. They had the whole thing. They had everything.
They got it from a floating balloon. It was a floating balloon somewhere over Leominster.
They're gonna do a lot with my pet rabbit videos and right.
Oh god,
that's so funny. So let's say hi to the chat.
Let's say hi to the chat,
and then we'll bring in tonight's guest, which I'm dying to talk to. A good friend of ours from the convention.
Absolutely.
We got Dark Stream Studios with us.
That's Jared
tonight.
Brown.
Jared, what's up, buddy? Good to see you here. As always, my wife as well. What's going on?
Hey, Amy.
Oh, and Dark Stream says Johnny C, aka the most handsome man.
He's just buttering me up because I got to write his issue 4.
Awesome. Happy birthday to thanks.
Damn right, you say happy birthday to Keith.
And then Amy said, bet your wife still made you a great birthday breakfast. That was true. She did.
Was it pancakes with a smiley face made out of bacon and then Mr. T cereal on top? Because that's a hell of a birthday.
That's a hell of a birthday. Perfect. No, it was actually eggs in a basket. I love that. You know, it's like,
I love that too. A little toast. Yeah. That's good stuff.
She said Mirth was hatched out of Mork's egg as a grown-ass man. Yeah.
Right. And then he got Jonathan Winters, and then he shrank. You never saw him become younger, but
isn't that when that show Jumped the Shark though? When
probably,
Jonathan Winters came in?
I'm sure it did.
Yeah. I don't remember it that well. I do remember it was funny. Like I do remember loving Robin Williams.
I mean, Robin Williams in and of himself was a very comedic actor.
Oh yeah.
Isn't it weird that
even if the show story wasn't funny, he probably made it
made it funny. He made it work.
Wasn't that show like a spin-off from like Happy Days or Laverne and Shirley? Yeah, isn't that crazy? Like
yeah, I saw the episode of Happy Days where he actually appeared, and it was like a very weird episode. It was like the Fonz was hanging out at the Cunningham house, but they weren't there. It was just the Fonz hanging out in their house, And
he had
then
magical
Mark
powers.
landed in the backyard and then came in, and then they had like all kinds of goofy interactions. And then,
but that was not how the Fonz got his magical powers. I think he had them before he met Mork.
Yeah, his magical jukebox powers.
Right.
Yeah, it's so wild. And then we got Tony in the Tony
Hey,
James with
Tony
us. What's
James.
up, Tony? He says Gwen says hi, Johnny.
Hey, Gwen.
Also, Jared said meltable backups at even one at my brother's house. Yeah, I need to do that definitely.
Yeah.
So, and we got a handful of people watching too that aren't commenting. So hopefully we'll see some more.
Well, thanks for watching, everybody. We're great.
Yeah, we appreciate anybody checking out the show,
sharing your Monday night with us.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be a lot of. One thing I wanted to mention to you guys too before we bring in Joe. I tweaked the schedule for us so that the 2 weeks that Christmas and New Year's is on, I believe like I made it so we have the 2 weeks off. So we'll have a show on the 18th, I think. Let me take a quick look. I got it right here. Yeah, so we'd have the last show on the 18th of December, and then we're off because like I looked at it and like the Monday, like Christmas and New Year's is literally on a Sunday, so we'd have to be live the next day. So I figured like we could use a break after going weekly for how long, you know?
Yeah. God bless us, everyone.
Yeah. So I figured why not? You know, we'll do that. And so I made the schedule so that we would, you know, we'll do 2 weeks in a row and then we'll have 2 weeks off. So I think that'll be nice, you know? So
yep.
Thanks for the holidays.
Sounds good.
Yeah, and I'll have to see how it works out with Thanksgiving and stuff. But I think that'll be fine because it's Mondays and that's nowhere near Thanksgiving. So
we're not for a lack of people interested in coming on the show.
Dude,
I mean, we're getting so many requests. We try to oblige as much as we can.
Yeah, like I said, this time of year I have to turn people away because there's just so many requests, you know.
Yeah.
So, but without further ado, let's bring in tonight's guest, who
Absolutely.
his name is Joe Souza. He's a talented artist and also a great con promoter as well.
One of only 4 con promoters I actually trust.
Yeah, we should get into that a little bit too, which would be great. So without further ado, welcome Joe Souza. What's up,
Joe?
What's
up, guys?
Hey man, it's great to see you on our show finally. It's awesome.
Definitely.
Yeah, so I was talking you up, and like I know, so I know you're an artist, but you're mostly do sculptures. Is that correct? Do you do a traditional art too, or?
Yeah, I mean, I do a lot of sketching, and the sculptures definitely helped my sketching. But I primarily sell sculptures.
Yeah, is that the cloth mache that I read about? Is that what that is?
Yeah, it's a lot of cloth, paper, doing a lot of clay as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the monster thing is so cool. Like I love that. Like it's so unique at shows too. You know, no one really has anything like you do, which is really cool. You know,
it was pretty much just the only medium I could afford when I started doing it. When I was a kid, was just flour I could steal from my mom and newspaper. Now I use different types of paper and different types of glue, but back when I started, it's really all I could get my hands on.
Were you like drawing even like as a young Joe?
Definitely.
I remember drawing when I was in like second grade.
Oh yeah,
like
I can't remember a time where I wasn't. I was. Oh
wow, okay.
Definitely brought up in a house full of comic books and art. My father was an artist, and I can't remember a time where I didn't have, comic books. He had at least 20, 30 comics he'd grab a month. He'd actually keep them on the toilet and just read one a day in the morning. And that's pretty much what I turned into my habit as well. So
I love that.
Hey, 22 pages is perfectly timed. Let me tell you.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, we read the whole book.
Unless it was an Alan Moore one, and then you had to take a break, like from the pooping,
He was definitely the traditional comic book guy. Like, he did not like the anti-hero. He was the Superman, do the right thing, get it done the right way, which is the hard way, no shortcuts. That was
the Boy Scout heroes.
Yeah, that was definitely his comic book, So I was the only comics I really didn't get was Batman. He really didn't like Batman too much. It wasn't until I got a little older that he started buying titles that I requested. but he was mostly
That's
Superman.
awesome.
Mostly Superman, a lot of DC stuff, a lot of Spider-Man.
That's actually really cool because like my parents were like comic books were like they didn't get them, like they just like they were the type that called them funny books and like what I mean, like just, oh, there's
my father
actually funny books. What's that?
My father actually painted the Justice League up on my walls of my bedroom.
Oh, cool.
It had Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. And he had to redo Wonder Woman because he made her bust a little too gratuitous, and my mom wasn't happy with that.
That's great. I would love to stare at that as a 10-year-old.
Exactly.
That's great. So your father was an artist as well, huh?
Yep. He was all kinds of all-around artist. He was a woodworker that I remember, but before that, he did a lot of pen and ink, watercolors, stuff like that. He even with the woodworking, he did a lot of like decorative chessboards where he would burn and draw on the boards and make music boxes and things like that.
Cool. That's cool. Yeah. Like I found out later on that my mother was an artist, but like I never saw her draw anything. Like she was the type that did art, like, but it was like probably when she was younger. And then like as she got married, she stopped doing it. But then I was like blown away to find out that she actually had some talent, later in life. Whereas like, it's funny because Amy's father was an artist too. And he would paint and he'd do all that stuff. And Amy kind of, got that talent from him. And they would both do like, the local like Leominster Art Association exhibit together, which was really cool.
Fun.
Yeah, I never had that with my parents, so it's.
I'm telling you,
cool
skill
thing.
sets and genetics, man. It's there,
right?
It's deep rooted, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely awesome. Genetics and definite product of your environment, I would say.
That too,
absolutely. Sure. Did you, Joe? Did you ever try your hand at like doing a comic book, like?
Not successfully. When all through high school,
complete an issue or
all through high school, we've had tons of books. I've had tons of different projects. The one that came closest was our Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle knockoff that me and my friend Jay did. It was adolescent kickboxing chameleons or something along that line. And it was just a total ripoff of the Turtles, like when the Turtles first came out. Like I think it was even before the cartoons or the toys. It was when the books themselves had come out.
Oh, no kidding.
Well, we are also lucky in this part of the country because they're from this area.
We got it early,
We got it early, right? Exactly.
Yeah, and it's funny because that did have a ton of knockoffs too after the fact. Like, we had Don Chin on the show.
I was gonna say Don Chin's,
adolescent hamsters, black belt hamsters, and I feel like there was like 2 or 3 other ones. Like I guess some of the cartoons were like Street Sharks and
a lot of the stuff definitely came, after that.
Well, Ninja Turtles in and of itself was a riff on other comics too. You know what I mean?
Right. Frank Miller, especially, and the Daredevil stuff. So that's cool. Like you grew, and that's cool that you did it before there was even a cartoon.
It was just pretty much looking for any content to do.
Yeah, and those old comics were badass too. Those old Leisman and Laird ones were awesome.
Oh yeah.
So I heard a sad story about Peter Laird. Actually, a matter of fact, recently, my boss at the store was telling me that I guess he's kind of doing like a farewell tour around Comic Cons and stuff because he's like, I guess he's sick. I don't know what that sick means, but it sounds like it might not be a good thing. He
was at Granite State this year, right?
Was he? Yeah, I heard he showed up at a few different random places.
I had a lot of people tell me he doesn't even charge to sign. He just wants to.
Isn't that crazy?
Meet the fans and
that's pretty cool.
Connect with people.
I freaking love that because he probably has so much money, still, So I love that. Like, there's like a guy like that does that where he doesn't charge or I bet his lines are huge.
I think there's a generation of comic creators from the past that are still like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I remember one of my early days of going to San Diego Comic-Con and Jerry Robinson was just sitting there, just wanting to talk to people and nobody was there.
Funny, like, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like a whole mentality, you know.
Right.
And you kind of want to get them before the Comic-Con scene grabs them and says, "Hey, you can make money doing this," you know.
Yeah. Before they Stan Lee them.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You know, so funny. Oh, we got Pops here tonight. Awesome.
Hey,
Oh, there he
Pops.
is.
See you, buddy. Yeah, so we got a couple people watching us, which is great. And yeah, so Joe, like, when did you come up with the idea to start doing the monster thing? Like, where did that come from?
So originally I started doing these paper mache monsters. They were much bigger. They were to make like B horror movies that were like kind of inspired by like the early years of Trauma, which was like another big influence on me.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
So I just started, making these giant monsters, and we would just destroy them on, screen on my parents' VHS camera, and just chop them up and have all sorts of blood tubes and stuff squirting out and stuff like that.
Cool.
And,
Oh, nice.
and people actually, people wanted me to like start making stuff for them. I'm like, you'd actually buy these, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I started making some larger sculptures and doing some. It was funny because I didn't have much money, so I would just do whatever craft shows I could find. So I was like at like the church craft show down the street between a little old lady making like pot holders and someone doing sea glass art on the other side. And here I am with all my big, giant, colorful monsters, and it actually went over pretty well.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, when you stand out,
standing
from the
out,
norm.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
across
the little
whatever
ladies
else
loved
you
it
had,
'cause
you were the very unique booth, right?
Yeah, like they loved it. Like they never saw anything like it, and they appreciated the work because they were craftsmen themselves. They know how much work went into it, and it gave me quite the boost. Like the big fish in the small pond type of thing. You know what I mean? And this was when I was in my early 20s. So then, I kind of kept with it, had kids, slowed down a lot, opened up a real business, as my dad would say. And
what was your business at the time?
I owned a car detailing company.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I had a garage. We would detail cars, which was kind of good for the, what's the word I'm looking for? Like the perfectionist in me, you know what I mean? Like trying to get things the best that I can and taking the time, like, cause it's a very time consuming job, especially when you have those like nice higher end cars that you really want to get ready for the showroom,
Yeah.
So it kind of just helped with, that giving me the patience to do the small, tedious things. And then, I don't know. It wasn't, long before I met you guys that I just decided to start doing it again. And I decided to go utilitarian with it because I always had people asking me what they were for, what they did, like it's doing it. It's a sculpture. This is what it does,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right.
So then I started making the jars, the light switch covers, the boxes, the utilitarian type stuff. And again, went back to what I know. It was the craft shows, but I did a bigger one this time, which was Gatsby, which I'm sure you guys have talked to Johnny and Keith about, which is a huge craft show in Warwick, Rhode Island.
Yeah.
And it was actually Rhode Island Comic-Con people that came up and said, hey, you should come do a Comic-Con. And to me, the last Comic-Con I went to was one of the first early Boston Comic-Cons in Back Bay when it was just a bunch of people with long boxes. Why would I want to do a Comic-Con? You know what I mean? Like, oh, you should come check it out.
Made no sense, right?
It's not what you remember,
Yeah.
And then the first one I did was Comic-Con at Foxwoods. And then shortly after that, I did Gary Summers, and I think that's where we met probably.
Yeah.
Actually, I think the first time I met you was at one of the worst shows that we
was. That the first time we met? Because I felt like we had met before then.
Maybe we did.
But I mean that was
it wasn't many times though. If we did, like, it might have been once before White Mountain.
So it could have been Vermont. Were you up in Vermont, Keith?
Oh, maybe. Yeah, maybe it was Vermont.
So
was Vermont before White Mountain?
Vermont was right before White Mountain, and then I remember Wendy coming up to me at White Mountain with the Vermont shirt. And that's where I put two and two together.
That's when you took a picture of us and sent it to Sam because you were like, "Hey, look." Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah, like it's funny. Like I want to tell the audience about how weird like White Mountain Comic-Con was.
It was a great show.
The first one was good. The first one was actually solid, and I think it was because he did the show right in that glut of that 2 or 3 years where Comic-Cons were. You could throw one on the moon and people would show up. Like there was like literally you could print money if you were a con promoter at the time.
Right.
Yeah.
And that first one was awesome, and I liked the room, but it's a show that shouldn't have worked because there was like nothing within a 50-mile radius of the show.
Exactly.
You know, it was just like one of those things. It was like at a what was it, like a reception hall or something? Where
it was the Cottage Man Inn.
Is the Common Man? Yeah,
Common Man. Yeah,
Common Man.
They own all sorts of restaurants all over New Hampshire and venues and stuff like
yeah,
that.
Yeah. And it was a cool place to stay. Like we went there. I remember we went there one Valentine's Day after. And it was like to stay over. It was not a bad place.
The restaurant on site's really good. The Boiler Room.
Yes.
Yeah, they do really good food there. There's this was a while ago, but in 2018 there, I remember we got the brisket burger. And the brisket was so good. It was like authentic smoked barbecue. I'm like, why is it so good up here? Like this thing down south. And the guy was saying that they had a guy from the south who came up, moved up north, opened up so
it was like smoking the meat, like southern style.
We were getting like this authentic stuff that was just ending up as a topping on a burger. You know what I mean?
And then they had the second show, which was like, I believe a year later. And it was like, it was a totally different experience.
Did you go to the second show, Joe, or were you?
Oh yeah, I didn't go to the first show.
Oh,
so only had the second show.
And I actually went to school with that guy.
Oh, the guy that ran it?
The promoter of that show.
I forget his name, but he had a store, didn't he?
I can't remember his name either, but I know that like when we finally when I met him in person, I was like, I know you. I was like, did you go to Tiverton, which was like, miles away from New Hampshire? And he was like, yeah, we definitely went to school together. And then he was out and never came back.
I went into the White Mountains and disappeared. But that show was wild because like he didn't promote it, and he didn't even show up, right? His daughter
showed up that morning and then left his daughter there.
Yeah,
who like promptly ate a pop brownie and passed out.
Poor girl. I remember
it was like he came to open the doors and then left,
Yeah, exactly. I think one family came in.
Yeah, it was, and I recognized on that Saturday it was going to be awful, so I left that night. I didn't even bother with Sunday. You guys stayed though, right?
We stayed, yeah. By the end of it, it was like bad. We had to really we did a sketch off for ourselves.
Yeah, that was bad. I remember on Saturday we
played a lot of fun games on Sunday.
Yeah, and also so it was also the first time I ever brewed a coffee at a convention, just to serve. So the first time I ever brewed my own blend, and I'm like, hey, I should make a booth out of this.
Is that where you decided at White Mountain?
It was at that show. Yeah, it was.
There was a lot of people at that show that I met for the first time. It was Keith, Johnny, Amanda Call, Jesse Lundberg, Scott Jeffries, Sword Guy.
Oh yeah.
Josh Dahl was there.
Josh Dahl was first time I met him. There's a lot of people there. Actually, so we played this game where we had like a like brackets, like what superhero could beat what superhero, and this has been bugging me for years, so I got to get this off my chest. It was like this person versus this person, this person versus this person, and we would discuss like who would win. And I was sticking up for I think Namor was the guy that I had, and somebody killed off Namor by using something that happened in Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. Like the chameleon tricked Namor into jumping into a vat of rubbing alcohol or something like that instead of water. And I was like, are you serious? We're going to stick with that? Like I could beat the Red Skull with an apple pie. Like, we can't take Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends as a rule on this.
That was such an isolated thing too, because it was a pool. It was like inside a house. I remember like the episode, and it's like when is Namor ever inside a house and near like an in-ground pool?
I mean, Namor to me is like one of the original badass comic. He's like one of the first like villains, like of Earth. Like,
and he's tough as hell. Like I don't think the alcohol thing would even work in the comic. It's so weird.
Yeah, that's been bothering me for years.
I agree. I think Namor would have beat that in 2 seconds. That's funny.
I didn't like him in Black Panther though. He wasn't that. I didn't like the way he looked in Black Panther.
I don't think that's a good good version of Namor for sure. Like,
it seems like for that movie they made choices to help differentiate it from Aquaman. and maybe they strayed a little too far from that character for some people. You know what I mean?
The look was almost there, but the origin was all over the place.
Yeah.
Tough to sell the idea of a guy with little wings on his feet.
I know.
It makes no sense.
It always works when they lean more into it, though. I think,
a little bit.
They embrace it. I don't know. I still have yet to see that movie. I got to see it at some point.
Sorry, spoilers.
Yeah, no, I knew.
But we digress.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. And then, so Joe, how did you because I know after we met you, it was a couple of years later, then you started doing your own shows, right? Like what kind of prompted that? Like you started doing like your own conventions.
That was just completely something that just kind of fell into my lap,
Really? How so?
So, well, I have a long background in production. I've produced the Boston International Fine Arts Show for going on to 25 years now. And I've probably been saying 25 years for the past 5 years. So it's probably closer to 30 because I think I started when I was around 18 or 19 years old. I went there just to help move art, just like get a job, like work as a porter to move art into the thing. And I just saw everything going on the floor and I kind of just bullshitted my way into it. I just kind of told the person that was running the show that I had more experience than I did. And because I didn't want to move art anymore, I wanted to be up there with the clipboard telling people what to do,
Yeah.
So they took me on for the very next show because I guess I had a good game. And so I kind of learned the ropes from there. And so then when Scarecon and Rock and Shock both went away before COVID, I think I started talking about the idea. I mentioned it to Johnny a couple of times. I know that I wanted to do this here and, get a show going. And
like
it was
a horror themed show, right? Like
nothing. I think at that time I was just thinking more of a Comic-Con, you know what I mean? Any kind of show because and it was just really no reason to do it. So there was really nothing like pushing me to it at that point. Then COVID came. And so then I had a little flea market space right after COVID at the Globe Flea Market in Fall River. And since COVID was still a thing, but it was kind of wrapping up, they had the rule that if you were a venue, no matter how big you were, you can only have 200 people. You could be the 20,000 square foot venue, but you can only have 200 people in there at a time. But if you were a storefront, it went by square footage. So seeing that the flea market was considered a store, it went by square footage was the amount of people we could have. And how big that place was, we were able to have a lot of people. So the guy with the DeLorean, one of the guys from Epic Cars, those guys that have like the Jurassic Park and all the other different ones, he reached out because he's from Fall River. He was like, you think the guy from the flea market would let me set up the DeLorean for pictures outside? And I was like, yeah, he'd totally be down for that. Let me, why don't I contact a couple of my friends that do comic books and we'll have them come down and we'll have some artists and we'll have the DeLorean too. And I think I reached out to Johnny and I think maybe yourself for the first one. And
I think, I went to one of them. I don't know.
You went to the second one where we had to redo the car one, which wasn't as good as the first one because the cars got rained out of the first one. We were going to have a bunch of cars outside and the show inside. We had to cancel the cars, but the car guys wanted to come back. So we did a second one for them. But I reached out to about 5 or 6 people. And
it was a great show for me too. I remember a lot of people showing up and I did pretty good.
And it was free for the vendors. It was free for the crowd. It was free for everybody to come. And I think we ended up with close to 15, 16 vendors when it was said and done. I mean, I'd say like maybe 300 or 400 people showed up that day or that weekend.
Easy.
Yeah, the time I did it was pretty good. I remembered, and the space was free.
The first
really
one was just like, oh my goodness, like what happened here? It was like the day the mask mandate was lifted, people wanted to come out. Everybody had all that COVID money to spend.
Yeah,
people were just coming because, like, oh, we can see our friends again. Like this is a convention, we can all meet up, and it just turned out to be a good, And then Tim Clark reached out and was like, hey guys, I want to come down and do it. And so we actually had like a guest and. Before we knew it, we were kind of a little legit show. Got myself on the radar of people that didn't like me, but
yeah, I'm remembering this wrong because I thought you had some shows before COVID hit. So maybe it
no. I was doing the show. I was doing the art shows. I was still producing the art shows out of Boston.
But you hadn't had an official
I haven't had any Comic Cons or anything like that.
Okay, so I'm remembering it wrong.
It wasn't until that Troy City, Comic Con. And then, everybody at Troy City pretty much saying, hey, you should do, like a real show. And then knowing that there was a hole for a horror show too. And I kind of had a lot of horror connections. I went forward and wanted to make a little tabletop show, but that didn't work out either. So that just kind of grew into a much bigger show, and then it just took off from there.
But like you said, there is a vacuum of a lack of horror conventions in Massachusetts.
Not anymore.
Not anymore, right? But there was at that time. It was perfect because the seminal show Rock and Shock was gone, and you did a real good job of just picking up this kind of stuff and right in their place.
ScareCon? Yeah, ScareCon was the other one.
ScareCon and TerraCon was kind of in and out too.
Okay.
But ScareCon and Rock and Shock
back, right?
TerraCon came back this year, yeah.
And is that Rhode Island? Is that the Rhode Island?
That's Rhode
Island,
Island,
yep. Yeah. So
it was. I think it went Silver Screen, TerraCon, and then Connecticut, all one week after another, and then it was 3 weeks, and then it was us. So I was definitely sweating this year, hoping that people actually wanted to come to a show still or had money to come to a show still, but I think our focus on the indie horror is what's saving us and separating us. Like, we have a loyal crowd of independent horror movie makers and people that want to support those indie people that come to our shows.
I love that. Yeah. And I love that you're doing that. Like,
your shows are great, Joe. If I wasn't at New York, I would have been with you guys.
Oh, I know that. I know you definitely. And I heard New York finally hit a Dragon Con status and had someone poop at the show.
Yeah.
So that seriously is like a
rumor.
Thing. Like
That's
in the South, like pooping in the stairwells is like, a badge on your bingo card. Like down south, it's like
we don't know what the real story.
Like, man,
Johnny heard like a story, and then also
I've heard it somewhere else though.
What's that? You did?
I've heard other people say it, not just from the other posts.
Joe, you were at the Keystone incident, right?
That was a dog.
That was a dog.
That was a dog.
But we were saying before, it was the second Reed Pop show to have an incident like this,
Yeah. Keystone deserved.
And I heard that this last Reed Pop one was actually a dog too, but the owner tried to clean it up and made it even worse or something. That's what someone else was saying on or commented on
New York
videos.
This story's got legs, man. It's like the third week recovering, second week recovering it.
It's exactly like what you said, Johnny. It's like a game of telephone. Like the end results changes on depending on who you hear it from.
Purple monkey dishwasher.
Yeah. Absolutely. But yeah, I want to reiterate too that I've been to a few of your shows too, Joe, and I think you do a great job with conventions. Like,
appreciate that.
So you have how many now? You have Retro Expo, Monstah Expo.
So I have three Monstah Expos, Retro Expo, and we have a partner for Hexpo. So that's me and another company.
Oh, gotcha. So you're kind of only partnering in.
Yeah, that one I got a little less responsibility for, but still.
Okay.
Could you define the three different shows for people watching?
So we have our flagship show, which is Monstah Expo, which happens in October, usually the second weekend of October.
Okay.
And then we have our Halfway to Halloween show, which is a little bit smaller, but always gets a huge crowd. That happens usually at the last weekend of April, which is pretty much the midway point to Halloween. And then this year, we're getting rid of Christmas in July and making it Halloween in July in Nashua, New Hampshire.
Oh, awesome. Nice. So you're going to have like 3 Monstah Expos a year. That's great.
I
think that's a great idea, actually, because I think just because Halloween's over, the horror fans are still watching horror movies. It's not going away.
It's a definite loyal following there with the horror fans.
Yeah, sure. And I it's funny. I love horror movies. I love the whole industry and everything, but I wish I had more stuff that was horror related so I could vend at your show more. I did the first one just because, it's you and I like your shows and I figured I'd try it and we did okay, but it wasn't wasn't amazing amounts of money, but we did enough to cover our table and everything, which was good, but I don't know, maybe if we get some more horror pieces, Amy's always drawing horror stuff, maybe we'll do it again,
They're definitely looking, my crowd's definitely looking for artwork and unique stuff. You know what I mean? They're looking for, unique horror art, taxidermy, things like that. I think Amy's stuff would do really well. The pony sculptures that she does, the darker side ones.
The alien pony sculpture she had.
Yeah. She's been doing some awesome Inktober drawings too that she's been posting. She just did the the Critters the other day, and she did a
Oh.
ghoulie coming out of the toilet and stuff like that. So
Nice.
stuff like that might do really well, you know.
And that's the crowd that I have, because I mean I make a show pretty much for stuff that I like myself. So we're getting the 80s people, you know, people our age, you know, 40s, you know, late 30s is pretty much what my whole shows are usually full of.
She's like, let's make a horror one shot. Yeah, it's not
like
a bad
that.
idea, you know.
Yeah, make that happen.
Not a bad idea, you know. But yeah, no, I love that. And when you say indie, and you also like, well, I'm going in a million directions here, but I love like the indie horror scene too. So you get a lot of people that are making independent horror films that kind of come and set up too.
Yeah, we partnered with George James Frazier. He runs the Happenstance Horror Fest, which is going in like its 8th year.
Oh, cool.
You know, so I think he said something this year. He had like over 700 submissions that he had to go through from all over the world to pick, you know, 85 short, you know, movies to film for the 2-day festival we had this weekend. You know, so people come over from all over the world. We had some people fly in from Europe and stuff like that to have their film screened and, you know, check it out. So it's definitely, it's not a Comic-Con with horror guests, which is what I didn't like seeing. I didn't like walking into horror conventions and seeing the same vendors that I see at Comic-Cons, but just some mainstream horror guests, you know. We try to get that more independent feeling, get more independent horror movie makers, get the spotlight on them, give them the panel time to talk about their stuff, you know, things like that. You know, I've always tried to support the arts, and I've always wanted to make a show. And I use a line from Johnny all the time that he said years ago. He said, tired of being at shows that are built on the back of vendors, but it all goes to the celebrities. And that's what I want to do different.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And that's like my philosophy too for doing Plastic City.
Exactly.
That,
yep.
You know, I want everybody. I don't want just, you know, like I feel like the promoter, you know, shouldn't be making like bags of money while everyone else is struggling. And then also like all that money shouldn't go right to whoever's the celebrity at the show or whatever.
Yeah, you know, the thing that I have going on with my shows is like that underwear gnome episode from South Park, where it's like underwear $profit.
Yeah.
I'm still working on that question mark. Yeah.
I was going to say, this is exactly why you guys are the top 3 of the con promoters I trust. You know what I mean? Because you genuinely want to run a convention that's not breaking your exhibitors. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, that we understand because we are vendors ourselves. And I think that's kind of gives you that perspective of like, you know, it's a community thing. Like, you know, indie comics community and, you know, any art community. It's like you share it, you know, it's like you know, it's like, and you're not out, you know, you're not out for yourself, you know, it's one of those
in corporate terms. It's like the president that came up through the telemarketing department. Yeah. That kind of thing. You know what I mean? It's like somebody who's been through the trenches, so they've
been through the trenches. Yeah, he
exactly.
knows.
No, I'm definitely a horrible businessman when it comes to the numbers end of it. You know, but I'm just kind of banking on, and the same thing that you're banking on, and that you've done is that you get a following. You know, you get people that know that they want to support you and stick with you, and you know that's how I think we're both going to succeed.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and like Johnny was saying, like I don't trust a lot of, or even talk to a lot of con promoters, but like you and like Mitch, and I think that might be it.
You got to look for the red flags: Hawaiian shirts, Converse, electric orange.
Yeah, and like I don't have a problem with. I know who you're talking about, but I don't have a problem.
I don't know who
with
I'm talking about.
But yeah, I mean, I could easily see having a problem with them, but you know, and I don't get, like, I was always telling Mitch, like, they should do a reality show about con promoters in the New England area, and that would be a huge hit. The amount of drama going on, and you know, the crap
for the most part, most people were really good to me when I started the show. You know, they reached out, they gave me agents. You know, like the guys from Bangor were great. You know, even some people now from Dragon Con gave me some advice, you know, so, yeah. And they were definitely those people that just did not want to play along right away, right out of the bat, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't
fucking
get that
espionage.
Yeah.
Espionage,
Fucking
yeah,
corporate
absolutely.
espionage occurred. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah, the
But
whole
we
thing
won't get
is
into that.
Yeah, we won't. But like, I don't get that mentality personally, because it's like we're all in kind of the same boat, and we're all.
Colleagues.
What's that?
I prefer colleagues over, competition. We're colleagues.
Absolutely, like, and like, and we all watch out for our dates, and we try not to step on each other's toes, things like that. And
that's the funny thing too, is when you see that there's major shows happening on the same weekend, it's like, why aren't they talking to each other? Like this past year, SPX and Baltimore Comic-Con happened in the same weekend. Those are the two biggest shows in that area, and they just completely divided it, and it killed both shows in terms of attendance.
That's what happens. It ends up hurting everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially in October, it seems like there's a million shows in October, and it's not just the Comic-Cons, it's like the art festivals and the street fairs of the local towns and things like that. There's so much going on. What's that?
Kickstarters that are happening right now.
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of stuff in this time of year, Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get that whole attitude. Like,
What other horror stories do you have about starting a new convention? Anything any adversity when you first started, or
nothing but?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's a total nightmare running a show.
That's how you learn, I guess, right?
It's super gratifying when it all comes together and comes off without a hitch, but there's just so many moving parts. You have to learn to adapt on the fly very quickly. Like,
that's true.
We lost our
sorry, go ahead.
We lost our hotel rooms this year because of housing the refugees in Massachusetts. Like almost all the hotel rooms are gone. So, I mean, we had that absolutely had no effect on the show except for just having to have the hotel up the road. But we dealt with a lot of people.
So you had to move all the guests to a different hotel. Is that what it was?
We had to shuttle the guests back and forth, which wasn't very fun. So then they end up
and that's like something you don't count on. So you have to add that to the budget now.
And then they lose their liquor license because they're not technically a hotel. So that gave me plenty of time to get an outside company, which here's more money that wasn't actually in the original budget. And then they actually wanted a guarantee too. So take on another guarantee that they're going to sell X amount of dollars in liquor. But whatever, you got to have a bar. So I think 3 days before the show, they emailed me, the bartender that was going to go to your show died.
Oh no!
You can't staff your show.
Are you serious?
Exactly.
So what happened? Like, did you get somebody?
I had no bar. I lost sleep over it. I thought that people would be pitchforking and torching me, but not one person said anything. Not one guest came up and asked where the bar was. Not one person, I mean, the pros, they flask it, they come up there anyway.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you didn't get massacred for
I lost a lot of sleep over it. So it's
was this the new venue up in was it Nashua that you were doing? Taunton.
We haven't done Nashua yet. Nashua, I think we're safe because I don't think Nashua is a right to shelter state like Massachusetts is. Like New Hampshire's like live free or die as long as you're from the United States. But that's a beautiful venue. That's going to be a good show. That's getting a lot of traction. My only concern up there is how well the vendors are going to do, because as we all know, it's not the same economy that we're used to down here near Boston.
Sure.
Absolutely. That has
it's not that far. We're barely over the line.
Yeah, but I think people might travel to it.
Yeah, I think.
And is that the next one? Is that the next one you're doing? That's going to be
the next one's halfway to Halloween.
Is that the one in Nashua?
No, that's the one in Fairhaven, the same venue that we started at.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Which I enjoy that location. I think it's great. The water's right there.
Yeah, I love that venue. It's a beautiful venue.
Breweries in the area.
Yep. But I think I might. I don't know. We're contemplating on moving it because getting a lot of response, and I don't know if I could actually get a line big enough for Bill Moseley in that building. I think Bill might actually blow that one up. He's going to be a big draw.
Much. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Who's your big guest? Is it him and who else?
Bill, yeah. That's all I get announced for now. I always go light on that show. Only do 3 or 4 guests, and with Bill there, I don't want to suck too much money off the floor either.
Sure.
But we're probably going to go a repo angle, probably screen Repo the Genetic Opera the night before, maybe get a couple guys from that or something like that. Because everybody does the corpses and Texas Chainsaw and stuff. I like the interaction you get.
Yeah, definitely.
Zytrate comes in a little glass vial. A little glass
exactly.
Vial,
yeah.
A little glass vial. So, like, it sounds like you do these shows kind of for yourself, and if people show up, that's great. It makes it even better. So, is there like a moment that you have that was like, kind of like maybe you were like starstruck, or do you have like a favorite moment since you've been doing these shows that sticks out in your head?
I don't know. They all, I don't know if there's any kind, it's the feeling when the show is done is what sticks in my head the most, especially the first one, because the first one was like all you guys, like every vendor there we were friends with for a long time.
Right.
Everybody knew each other. It was just such a good feeling. And it was so long since we've done a show, like it was
sentimental.
COVID. So to have that show definitely sticks out in my head the most, because it was just so fun to do. And when it was all done and over with, and be like, oh man, we pulled this off, and we might be able to do this again. It was just a really good feeling.
That's how we feel too when the day's over and you just like, all right, it's done. Thank God,
That's consistent for every con promoter I've met. Is like the Monday. It's like, thank God.
Yeah, that and like the month leading into the show is always hectic. Like
seeing that line in the beginning is pretty satisfying too. That like the Saturday morning right before you open and everything's in place and you got the line lined up and you're ready to go. That's a pretty good, exciting feeling as well.
Yeah, once all the vendors are in and they're all set up and the show just kind of runs itself at that point.
Exactly.
And it's usually all right, it's done, and now you just walk around and put out fires if there's any,
But as far as
shut down any flexors who might have popped their shirt off.
Yeah.
As
far have you ever had anything weird like that at your shows, Joe? Like the Fitchburg flexor or anything like that?
You've heard of the Fitchburg flexor, right, Joe?
No, I do know about that.
Yeah.
Not yet at Monstah Expo. I've definitely had my fair share of WTF moments at the Boston Fine Art Show.
Okay.
Like, from people trying to steal the flowers off of people's tables at the end of the show to, people trying to get the cans from the recycling cans out of the trash barrel, like homeless people just walking into the show. Like, what are you doing? And just but you can't touch them, but they're like just emptying the cans in the middle of like this black tie gala.
Oh my God.
It builds character for the show.
Yeah. And I remember
you need the stories.
It was an art installation.
They were serving foie gras, which is like duck liver or goose liver or something like that, like a pate.
Yep.
And we had got the attention of some demonstrators that were, again, like PETA people that were against foie gras. And they're standing out in downtown Boston outside the show, and they're like, they're serving foie gras in there. And people are like, oh, I love foie gras. And coming into
the show. Yeah, I can imagine Boston is definitely a different scene.
They didn't get the response they wanted.
Yeah.
Are your shows one-day shows too? Are they like weekend shows or?
The Monstah Expos are 2-day shows. I don't do a Friday. None of the vendors seem to be interested in the Friday opening. So we do set up on Friday. We have the show Saturday and Sunday.
I applaud you for that, because I think 3-day shows all around are a waste of time unless you're a big mega show like New York or San Diego. The 3 days thing is a waste.
I don't even see it being a bonus to the promoter, to be honest, because I mean, when you're at a 3-day show, you rarely ever see anybody on the Friday that's only there for the Friday. It's like the people who have the whole show pass.
Yeah,
you're going to see all weekend are there on that Friday,
and that's why it's a waste, because all those people don't shop generally until Sunday. Yep. So it's like Friday is only you come in and you set up, and then you twiddle your thumbs for the 5 hours that you're there.
It's funny you say that though. Just in looking at the scale of the way New York went, Thursday was very busy. Friday was a little slower. And then you had your Saturday and Sunday, which were hopping. And I think the logic there is that Thursday's the cheapest, easiest ticket to get. So that's why people will buy that 1-day pass, come that day, hit it hard, and then, either come back on the weekend or not come back at all or whatever, right? And then, Friday, people are still working. And if they didn't, take the time off to go to the show, it's going to be a little bit lighter because then you only have your 3-day people showing up.
Right.
You know what I mean? Your 3-day passes. Then you have the weekend where everybody's off and it's like,
well, I think
chaos.
New York too, everyone's pulled from like the programming too, right? So like,
sure,
like you're gonna go to the panel that has the celebrity that's speaking or whatever, all day,
right.
and it tends to be more of that like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday than right rather than Thursday too.
Yeah. I mean, there's some stuff that goes down on Thursdays, but typically it's usually the weekend that has the bigger ones. Even for San Diego too, same thing.
Well, I always loved when New York only sold daily passes and not weekend. That was great because it was like every day was a new set of people.
Yeah,
that
there's a lot of
really
variance
good.
there.
Yeah, I love that. We did well. We used to do well in those weekends.
A key trick when you're behind the table is to look at what day badge they're wearing, because then if they're going to be coming back or if that's their only chance to buy. So you can kind of gauge how much salesmanship you put on with them. Right, exactly.
Yeah, it makes sense. So Joe, you're up to how many shows a year now? Like how many do you do in a year typically?
I guess it would be 5.
That's crazy.
That's a lot of work, man. That's your full-time thing, right?
You do nothing else. You do this in the
33%, I guess.
Yeah.
So we do. I got to do the artwork still. I do my shows. I'm not doing too many Comic Cons with the artwork anymore. I'm doing better at like shows like the Big E and the Harvest Cup, the bigger shows. Yeah. I'm finding that instead of putting all my effort into doing, let's say, 12 shows a year and doing all right at those 12, I'm focusing on the 3 or 4 that I really clean up on. And not wasting my time doing the other ones. Like we had a great
you do really
year.
well at Big E, huh?
Big E's great. If I could pay myself all year and not have to sell anything, I'd be able to just make stuff all year and sell it in that 3 weeks.
No shit.
Like I barely ever get
every day of the 3 weeks that it's going on.
What is it?
You there all 3 weeks? Like
luckily, I don't have to be there at all. I just drop my stuff off and someone sells it for me.
Really? Cool. That's nice.
Cool. And it's really nice. I think you guys know Jim, H.P. Lovecraft guy. His grandfather was a writer.
Oh yeah, what's his last? Dyer, right?
Jim Dyer. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's in the Rhode Island house because of the Lovecraft connection. So he takes my stuff up there and sells it up there.
No kidding. Cool. That's awesome. I didn't know he set up at that show. I like Jim a lot.
He's been up there for, I think this is going on our 3rd year or 4th year.
Oh wow, Jim's a good dude. I see him a lot at your shows.
Yeah.
And he does mine as well.
Yep.
And then I see him in some random conventions here and there. Always a nice guy, really nice to talk to, cool dude. And I love his his whole shtick with the Cthulhu and Lovecraft stuff.
The books are great. I don't know if you read his
book. I never read them, but it looks cool as hell.
Well, so his book is just kind of a collection of stories from his grandfather. His grandfather was a horror writer that was a peer with H.P. Lovecraft.
Oh,
so
really?
They kind of worked together. They were in the same circle of people, you know what I mean? So he kind of has a collection of stories from his grandfather and like some diary notes that he put together from, his interactions with Lovecraft.
Cool. Yeah, that's actually pretty cool. Pretty cool thing to have too, especially like there's such a fan base for that stuff.
Especially around here.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's really cool.
my Cthulhu's hard to spell books fly off the shelves.
Yeah, I got to commend you though too. Like I don't know how you do it 5 shows a year. I mean, just doing one for me is like is enough. Yeah. Like, it's just I
really only have the one show, the one that just passed that has everything going on. Like the having to organize the panels, the rights for the movies, the everything else that we have going, the amount of guests that come in, the photo ops that we have, and that one's a lot of work. But the other ones are pretty much just fill spaces, do some advertising.
Like retro expos like that, right?
There's no panels or anything else to worry about. It's just kind of here's your spot, pull it up,
Yep.
Provide the space.
I had a lot of fun at the retro expo. Is that one coming back? I know you were having some problems with the venue there, and
it's still going back and forth. I'm going to move forward like we're moving there, but I'm also looking into some backup venues, just in case. The thing now is the fire department is pretty strict with the table covers there. And it's kind of be unorthodox to have 100-something vendors have to fire cert all that table covers. It just doesn't seem worth it to me.
Oh, it's crazy.
That seems crazy.
It's funny how they'll just pull any weird red tape they can. Just
I contacted some other shows like in Tiverton to see if they were just kind of messing with me and pretended that I wanted to vend there. And they sent me a thing saying you need a fire started table cover. So
no kidding. So it's like a whole thing in that town.
Yeah, it's just some weird Tiverton fire clause.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've seen that at shows. Like if you go Fan Expo, it says that your covers are all supposed to be fire started, but they don't back it up. I think that's just to cover their ass if you start a fire down the road.
Probably,
them, that you have that stuff.
Same thing with the tax stuff too. Like they kind of don't they like.
That's another thing. I've been waiting for the Rhode Island tax people to come hit us. It's been a while for that as well. But
do they actually hit you? I figured like whenever they said that the tax thing, it was like, there's no way there's no bureaucrat coming out on the weekend. You kidding me? That's their.
They'll send somebody.
They'll find someone to go.
It's not like they're going to come and run your taxes. They're just going to ask you if you have a sales tax permit, and if you don't, they're going to sell you a temporary one so they can get their money.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's what happened to me at Rhode Island a couple times.
Yeah,
but I'm done with that show. I'm never going back to that show ever again. I'm all set. I'm all set with the promoters, and I'm all set with the type of show it is too. So
yeah, it was weird because they decided to have their volunteer training weekend on the same weekend as Hexpo and the same weekend as Monstah Expo. I don't know if that was a coincidence, but
yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah, no, I'm absolutely sure it wasn't a coincidence.
Exactly, got to thin out that volunteer pool.
Yeah. They are. Don't get me.
I won't mention that I'm going in 2 weeks then.
I thought it happened. Rhode Island wasn't this weekend?
No, I think it's next weekend.
Oh, okay, right on.
So November 4th or something like that.
Oh, all right.
Yeah,
right
well, it's a different for you, Harry. You're not involved in like.
Yeah, I just walk around and bother people. I know. I ask Tom Arnold weird questions. Make him feel uncomfortable.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's good. But yeah, I never been to the Hexpo. I know that's the one that's like is it like horror / cannabis too?
So a popular thing, almost all the different strains of cannabis that we smoke these days are considered hybrids.
Okay.
A mix of two different, strains of cannabis to make, a specific strain. So we call this a hybrid show, a mix of two types of shows. It's I like it. Mix of a horror show and a mix of a cannabis show. And the kid I do it with, Bobby Nuggs, he produces a lot of cannabis shows, interpret tasting, all different types of things. So we kind of took half of his vendors, half of our vendors, put them together into a show. And I feel like this year we have an awesome hybrid guest, which is Rachel True from The Craft and from Half Baked. So she has,
cool.
credit from each one.
Yeah, that's great.
That's cool.
Our buddy Mark's going to come out again. Mark Dodson's going to come join us, voice of Salacious Crumb and some Gremlins and stuff like that. He's always a fun guy to have. Interesting enough, and this is just mind-blowing to me, is we are selling smoke sessions with the celebrities. So you can pay to actually, smoke a joint with Rachel True or Salacious
That's
Crumb,
awesome.
Right? Like
how many joints could Rachel smoke? What if it's like 50 people?
So exactly. So I don't know. So we decided to do just one session with 6 people, and so it would just be,
so you do multiple people. It's not just
so it would be like a private, and everybody would get there. It wouldn't be like the old 70s where we all like share a joint with a circle of people. Everybody would have.
Are they all going to pass around the same joint?
That's what I'm saying. I don't think we're going to go do that way. We're going to everybody's going to have their own smoking stuff supplied.
I was going to say post-COVID, that's probably a tough one to pull off, right?
No, the smoking circle is a thing of the past now these days.
What a great idea, though!
It's pretty crazy, to see that was an option to, it's like, okay, we'll give that a shot.
Yeah.
Can I get some pre-98 Bubba Kush there?
Exactly, you probably could.
Johnny, are you setting up at that show?
No, but I'm interested now. When's that coming up, Joe?
This weekend.
Oh, it's this weekend?
Yes, this Sunday. It's a one-day show.
True.
Oh, it's a Sunday show.
Yeah, it's a one-day show on a Sunday.
Why'd you decide to do Sunday? Like, I feel like Saturday's more popular. Or is it the area that it's in? Is it Sunday better?
So I don't know why we originally picked Sunday for the first year. It might have been just the price of the venue. We were able to get the venue at a more affordable price. a lot of these cannabis shows happen at weird times anyway. You like a Thursday
Yeah,
night,
so they
like
don't
that.
need like a specific day. Like you could do it on a
Exactly,
Monday afternoon and it would be fine, right? Yeah. Okay.
Where is it happening?
So it's in Seekonk, which isn't that far from
I'm familiar.
from where I'm at. It's maybe
Yep.
20 minutes from my house. Right outside of Providence. Best way to say it.
Yep. I'm
There's the
familiar. I used to go
website.
to there's Timeless Comics there, I think, or something like that.
Yeah,
And,
time
Time
capsule.
Warp. Time capsule.
Capsule.
Yep.
Yeah.
And across the street used to be an awesome donut shop, which I think now is a dispensary.
It is now a dispensary that Solathera still owns, and it still has the big coffee cup like shape of the shop to it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the guy
You're
who
in
owned
the right
the
area.
donut shop before, he was telling me that was built by Freemasons. And there's all sorts of hidden imagery in the architecture beyond the giant cup. Yeah.
This is cool. So this is from some of the past. How many expos have you had?
This is only our second one.
Second one. Okay.
Yep.
This is
Last year
pictures
we
from the
actually-
first one.
This is from last year. Yeah, we
Oh,
actually
wow.
won Best Cannabis Experience from NECAN at the NECAN Awards.
Oh, cool.
Oh, cool.
And how much
Looks
is it to get
cool,
in for
dude.
people?
I think it's $15 at the door,
Cool.
and it's gonna be well worth it. The amount of free gifts you're gonna get is gonna make it well worth your $15.
There's Amanda Dufresne too. You just scrolled by, artist extraordinaire.
Yep, she was there last year. I don't know if she signed up again this year. But we do still have a couple tables. We actually moved to a bigger field. We just found out today that we were able to get on the bigger field. So we're going to open the aisles a little bit because we're getting some pretty good response. And we got a few more tables that we added too. If we can host some last minute people.
Nice.
Awesome.
Nice.
How many tables do you think you have total?
I think about 100.
100? Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah, we
good.
got
Actually, it's pretty
maybe
good
like
size.
60, 70 tables, 20, 30 booths. A good mix of artists, dispensaries, CBD people, glass blowers, general merchandise people like taxidermy and stuff like that. A lot of horror artists, some movie makers, comic book artists. Mike Doherty, Bernzig, some of the con usuals will be there as well.
Nice. Yeah, Mike's
Amy
an
has
awesome
a
artist.
question for you, Joe. Do you have to card people at the door?
We absolutely do. 21 plus, you can't even step into the venue until you're carded. So we card you as soon as you get out of the car. We're pretty much carding the guys in the car. We won't even park you if you're not 21.
Is there smoking on site or no?
There's smoking on site.
Wow.
Gotcha.
So there's no smoking in the actual venue, but we have tents set up outside, and we have a company called Dab Science, which is providing a 1/4 pound of hash, which is a lot of hash if you don't know. We're talking a 1/4 pound of dabs to just give out to people, to sample their stuff. And check
so
stuff
you
out.
could get free samples of goods attending the show.
Yes.
That's awesome.
There's going to be a lot of dispensaries, stuff like that.
Johnny's secretly typing if there's still table available.
Yeah, I'm texting Rick right now. My boy Rick
Actually,
is a grower. I'm like, hey man,
I was
going
to reach out to you and Rick, Johnny, to see if you guys wanted to come to the Harvest Cup again this year, because I got those passes again too.
Oh, that would be cool. So it's funny. I saw Rick on Saturday night, and Rick exclusively stores all of his grow in your jars, Joe. So
That's
across
hilarious.
the top shelf, it's all your Monstah jars, and he's just like,
Great.
He's taking them down, looking at them like, oh, it's so cool to see like one of my best friends have, a good friend of mine from the convention scene and all their wares on their shelf.
They're nice. They're awesome jars.
Yeah, they really are.
While we're talking, I'm going to see if I could find them on. Are they on your Facebook page?
I think if you go to that, I think I've created a Monstah page.
I've created a Monstah.
Yeah. I'll look at that while we're talking.
My personal page is just flooded with spam for the shows at this point.
I can imagine that's probably gotten like that. Do you find that like people are treating you a little bit differently now that you run a show? Or
without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Here's some of the different.
Look how awesome that is.
That's a planter. Yeah, these are planters that I had just done.
So cool, dude.
And I have to attest to the fact that Joe is an absolute workhorse. In between conventions, you go to his hotel room and he's like, spraying with the Mod Podge and perfecting it and doing all last minute stuff. Like, man, you keep it going. You're like, that's a lot of work. You got that hustle, man.
Yeah, I remember blackwashing stuff in like the hotel bathtubs of like fancy hotels, and
or even behind Saratoga. You did so well, you had to make some new ones, right?
Yeah, we were making them all day.
Yeah, so when I went out back to the smoke break, there's Joe with a cloth on his face, spraying down some new things. And I was like, wow, man.
Beautiful.
There you go.
Yep, that's one.
There you go.
We actually, this one actually we ended up getting from.
That looks new.
Yeah, this is someone left it at Plastic City, and we were holding. I don't know if you remember who bought it or not, but
no,
probably not. So
actually,
you've inherited it.
Actually, I do, because somebody sent me an email and was like, I lost my jar. I need you to send me another one. And I was like, well, if you send me, $56, I'll send you another one.
Well, if you have the email, forward it to me, because I have this.
I'll see.
Wow, we just solved a mystery. That was a cold case.
We did.
We just solved a cold case. I love that.
These things are so cool. It's like,
happy.
like just a jar, and like, but the amount of detail, Joe, that you put into this is like incredible.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Again,
I mean,
it's that formula: socks and question mark equal profit. I'm still trying to work on that question mark.
So, question for you: like, how long does it take you to make one of these? Like this one, how long did this take you?
So I haven't timed myself in a long time. They probably take much longer now because I put more detail into it. But to get like a baseline, so I can kind of figure out what I should be pricing these at, so I'm at least getting paid a decent amount of money for my time. I can make. See, there's lots of steps and lots of drying. It would take at least a week to make any jar. But I mean, I might only have a step that I literally only touch it for 2 minutes, and then I put it to the side and wait for it to dry. So the base jar, which is a small 8-ounce jar, similar to that, no horns, with just eyes, which I sell now for $45. It's my lowest piece. I can make a dozen of those in 6 hours.
Okay.
But it would be 6 hours over the course of a week. It would be 6 hours of hands-on time. So I just
you make a batch that's sort of similar.
I literally work on hundreds at a time.
Yeah, I was going to say that's what Amy does when she makes like a bunch of stuff too.
So like I'll spend a day just sitting upstairs watching TV and just rolling out teeth out of clay and making eyes out of clay.
Yeah, while you're watching shows.
Yeah, then I'll go downstairs and I have boxes of eyes, boxes of teeth, boxes of horns, and I just kind of Mr. Potato Head jars together,
That's cool.
That's awesome.
It's cool that you found your rhythm in assembling them. You know what I mean? It's like
Jared said, damn, I love those.
Yeah,
so you got
exactly, Jared. They're fucking great, man.
Yeah, so definitely find Joe at a show, Jared, sometime. Yeah, grab one. They're awesome. And he's got all kinds. You started doing stuff for like you did shot glasses, right? And then you were doing
shot
like
glasses. We did some lighter sleeves,
pipes, right? Pipes.
We've been doing bongs.
You did an exclusive Valentine's Day heart one.
That was
fun.
I
remember.
I should bring those back.
That was a cool one.
I think we did like 25 of those for like my closer friends that had girlfriends or other ones that really liked the work.
Mm-hmm. Wow, yeah, no, they were cool, man. You definitely you could tell like you put some work into these things. They're pretty awesome.
Do you have any favorite ones that you've kept or for yourself?
My favorite one is probably it's a big ogre. I know that you guys have seen it. It's a big blue ogre that's very reminiscent of the Rankin and Bass Ogre King from The Hobbit. He has that like big open mouth that he's like bite Bilbo's head off with right before they come in. I wanted to make a piece to enter in the Arisia art contest, and everybody always does these big dragons with the big open mouth. I'm sure you've seen like the dragon trophies, a dragon, and I wanted to do something with that to showcase a big open mouth, but I didn't want it to be a dragon, so I did the ogre. And it won a judge's choice at Boscone and a judge's choice in Arisia, and maybe even a what's the one the crowd picks, the audience's choice or something like that. So that's the one I'm most proud of, and I like.
That's cool.
That's great, man. And you kept that one in your personal collection, or?
Yeah, I have that one displayed at the flea market to get people's attention.
Are you still set up at the flea market too? Is that still?
I left the Globe flea market. And now I'm set up at the Rainham one, which is huge.
Oh, okay. Yeah. John Semino used to set up at Rainham.
Roger Morocco
set up there too.
Yeah, he used to set up there. Yeah.
And we got a lot of people there, like Joe Iglesias, the pop guy. He's set up there. John Ricketson from J&W's Comic Factory. there's a lot of people that do the cons that are set up there as well.
And you have a dedicated space that you.
Yeah, I got a nice corner spot there.
Cool.
It's only like 15 minutes from the Taunton venue, so I'm mostly there to promote the show. So I can touch base with a lot of people.
Yeah, I know that that flea market is very. What they've told me is very like hit and miss on the weekends. Like some weekends are really good, and other ones are just kind of crappy. Is that? Yeah, so your experience?
I mean, it's like anything else. I'll do good every weekend that I put work into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if I find stuff and I bring new stuff in and I move stuff around and I make myself available, I do better than the weekends that I'm like, I'm just going to promote the show today and just kind of sit back. So I think they get at least 3,000 people there a day. If not 6,000 would be a busy day. 3,000 would be a slow day.
Wow.
If you can't do something with that amount of people, then you don't belong there,
Yeah, right. Like you at least turn that into some sales.
Yeah, you're gonna at least touch some bases, make some connections. You might not make the money. I've always made my rent,
That's
but
good.
The times that I work harder at it, I make more money. It's just some days I just don't have it in me. That week I didn't have enough time to curate stuff or bring stuff in, and I just come in and just promote the shows. I don't make as much money.
Yeah,
kind of get what you put into it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. That's cool. Like I wish we have like a Rieta flea market around here, but I've never thought to just set up on a weekend and try it. Maybe I should sometime.
Yeah, if I wasn't promoting the shows, I probably wouldn't be there. You know what I mean? But it's definitely, it's only Sunday, which is nice because the Globe was Saturday and Sunday. It's definitely see way more people just on the Sunday compared to the Saturday and Sunday at the Globe. And I mean,
the Globe still open, or is it
Globe
closed
is still open?
now?
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's a lot of regulars, so I have a couple people that come by. They'll hang out with me for the majority of the day. It's a fun day.
Yeah. Michael Conlon goes to that flea market a lot, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, I see him there almost every.
Yeah,
every
I was gonna say he's like one
there.
of those guys.
Mike's great. He has that other. He did his show's pretty good too.
Yeah,
South Coast. Yeah.
And I mean, if you guys ever want to set up for the day there, I've had Doherty come set up, sell prints. He's done well. You guys come sell some comic books.
I've done that. Yeah. I used to set up once in a while when John had a spot there. And I've always had mixed results. Like some days I did great. Like you said, it's like, if you hit the right time and if you
let's plan something for December because that's the best month is December.
Yeah.
People are doing Christmas shopping, stuff like that. I got plenty of space to give you, a nice countertop. You can set up with whatever you want to sell and we'll advertise it. And worst case scenario, we get to hang out for the day.
Which I mean, really, bottom line, that would be the best part. Selling would be the, just the cherry on top,
Yeah, definitely. I know the first weekend of December, I got a show, but after that, I think I was done. But maybe that second weekend or something, we could do something. Yeah, I'll let you know. I'll get back to you on that one.
I was going to say one thing we didn't touch upon, and it's something you started doing recently, Joe, was a magazine.
Yeah. Well, I had that to ask about that, but yeah.
I was gonna say, can you give everybody a little bit of insight into what you guys are working on with the mag?
So Monstah Mag is something that I wanted to do. My original thought was a mix of the Heavy Metal magazine and Fangoria magazine. It was pretty much came to mind because of the amount of people that I know that vend with us that have no outlet to get their stuff out there. Like I have this short story, but I can't just print this one short story, or, I wish I could get my art exposed into a story or something like that. It was pretty much another opportunity that I saw to be able to provide a platform and network for people and let me do what I like to do, which is organize things and, put things together and produce. We really wanted it to be a magazine that was timeless. So not so much a magazine as much as like kind of a graphic novel almost. Like it's not touching on things that are happening right now. So you're not going to pick it up and read things that are irrelevant a year later. It's basically just stories and interviews and, comic pieces and stuff like that, of collection of horror stories that you can read at any time. And we really wanted to make it be a quality book, like something that when someone gets in their hands, this isn't a magazine that I cut up for making collages or wish boards or, just throw away and leave.
Yeah, you put it together at Kinko's or something.
Yeah, exactly. This is a nice, almost hardcover graphic novel type, bright, brilliant colors, quality paper.
Yeah, it's got that Fangoria kind of collectible, like you said, heavy metal aspect to it, which I love. You put me a copy in my hand at Plastic City, and I was just so awesome. I love the oversized magazine of it. I love the different interviews.
Yeah, I love
magazine
it too.
layout.
I was gonna say it reminds me a lot of Rue Morgue, like the same kind of stock and like the thickness, like, you know, it reminded me a lot of that. And yeah, no, I thought it was great. I flipped through it and I've read a couple of the articles and stuff.
The second issues are actually in the mail as we speak.
Oh, great. Awesome.
We had a little problem on the website getting our password protection working, but that should be up by tomorrow or the next day. The digital second issue will be up. Cool. We gave out a bunch at Monstah Expo. You know, we had them available there. And we're looking for some holiday horror stuff now for our holiday issue for the winter.
Nice.
Awesome.
Was issue 2... Sorry, Keith. Was
Johnny.
issue 2 the one that had the short in it that I gave you guys?
Issue 3 will be the short.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, so Keith,
the
short you lettered is going to be in issue 3 of Monster Mag.
Oh, that's cool. That's awesome. Very cool. How often are you putting it out, Joe? Is it a quarterly book?
It's a quarterly mag, yeah.
Okay. I think that's reasonable. Like, you know, I mean, I don't
Comes
know how
faster
you have
than I
time to
thought
do
it would
all
go.
this, but
3 months goes by a lot faster than I thought it would.
No, I can imagine, dude. Like, I mean, I'm glad you're self-employed because this is you got to run 5 shows.
Oh, I would never
be able to make your artwork.
If I had a regular 40-hour job,
you wouldn't be able to do all this, right?
Yeah, it's a lot.
Now, do you have how hands-on are you with Monster Mag? Are you running like? Are you seeking all the talent that's in there? Are you running for the ads? Are you doing all of that stuff?
That's pretty much all me. Yeah, you know, Wendy does a lot of the layout. I do some layout. I put the magazine together. I pretty much handle the advertising, making sure that everybody's getting what they paid for and their advertising gets in there and it's to the right size and they send me the right kind of images and they don't look all blurry and stuff like that. I would love to illustrate some of the stories. I actually had some stories that I wanted to work on, but I just never had time. I'm hoping to get some of my illustrations in for December. But I mostly focus on laying out the certain articles and then laying out the magazine itself is pretty much what I'm doing. I have a couple people that do layouts for us, but the majority of the layouts are done by Wendy and myself, where we just take a story, you know, from somebody. I send it over to one of the couple editors that we work with. They clean it up, polish it up if need be. Some of the authors, you know, we don't even need to touch their work. And then put it together with an artist that, you know, their style, I think, fits the story. Wait for their artwork to come back. And then I just do the layouts for it, which is pretty fun. I enjoy doing that.
I was gonna say your layouts look really good. They look like they can, you know, like a professional magazine, not like an afterthought or anything. You know,
yeah,
so it really is a quality grade that comes to the way it's presented.
The layouts and the graphic design, I've been doing that for a little while. I've always made flyers for my companies and things along that line. We started doing it on Canva. We're making the switch over to having the Adobe one that everyone's using. I can't remember the name right now.
Okay. That's awesome. I love that you're doing this. Are you going to try to get distribution into like Barnes and Nobles and things like that?
So I'm not sure if I can actually do Barnes and Nobles. I'm going to try. But if they make me want to clean stuff up, then that's going to be a non-issue. You know what I mean? Like, we might be a little vulgar for Barnes and Nobles. Issue
okay.
If you thought issue 1 was bad, wait till you get to issue 2.
Well, I love that. Like when you flip through issue 1, the first page that opens up is that centerfold spread.
And issue 2 does the same thing.
Does it?
Nice. So I was going to ask Joe if I wanted to get a couple of books to be able to sell at shows in my travels of issue 3. Can I order them through you?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Yeah, we offer wholesale to all the stores. You know, we're in Rubber Chicken Comics, a bunch of other comic stores. You know, all throughout New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and I'm always looking for more. We do pretty good. We're up to almost 250 subscribers.
Wow, really?
Which gets
that come and buy it every month, like just
Well,
you sell it through the website or mostly at shows?
Through the website mostly.
Okay.
You know, we do pretty well at the shows. I sold quite a few at your show. We sold a bunch at Monstah Expo, but I mean they have 4 Monstah, you know, to begin with. Yeah. But you know, we had to get to 200 subscriptions to get our periodical rate for shipping, which is a huge milestone. Because I mean, to ship a magazine just regularly without a periodical rate costs almost $4.
Wow.
With the periodical rate, we're talking 19 cents. So I mean,
shit,
the
wow,
business plan
okay.
really doesn't going to work until we get to that periodical rate, So we're working on getting
okay.
that approved right now.
Very cool. I hope that happens. I mean, the more issues you have, I think it'll probably be an easier thing, right, to get.
Well, you have to ship a minimum of 200 each time.
Okay.
And then it's just kind of a long, process of proving that you're, a United States entity, proving that you're not going to go out of business down the road, and proving certain things that you have to actually put in the magazine. I forget what they're called. It's like a declaration of where you print and what your company is, and just little loopholes that you got to kind of do. They don't care about the
I've
content.
never heard of that.
It's all that fine print that's so easy to overlook, right? It's like
exactly.
the beginning in comic books. There's that little bit of fine print.
Yeah, right.
It has all the important little shit that you got to put in there. Yeah.
I had no idea there was like even a periodical rate for shipping. That's crazy.
It's so expensive now to ship stuff. Even media mail is expensive. I mean, a
magazine
media mail wouldn't qualify for media mail because it has too much advertising.
Yeah.
But even that's like $3 for a magazine. And when you're talking about a $10 magazine that you're selling a subscription at a discounted rate for already, so people are paying $8, then you're paying $3 to ship it and it costs you $4 to print it. You're left with $1.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like hard to ask for people to spend money on shipping after they spend.
You can't be like this with money plus shipping,
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm already expensive because I'm a small circulation or a small print magazine, and the people that buy those understand that at least, that we're not Time Life and we can't sell it for $2 or $3,
Right. Yeah.
So if you were to get a subscription, what would it be monthly?
I think right now subscriptions go for $32. That gets you 4 issues delivered to your house.
Oh, okay, because it's quarterly, like you said.
Yep.
Yeah, that's not bad.
It's
$8 pretty good deal because if you're selling them on site for what, 10 a piece, you said?
$10. Yep.
Yeah, so getting a subscription, you got
saving 20%.
Yeah, it's a good deal.
Yeah, dude, I like it. I think it's great. And then you also offer advertising, like if people are watching the show, if they want to advertise in your book,
very affordable advertising.
Yeah, very affordable. I remember
we print 1,000 issues, and to print a business card size ad, I think is around $50 right now. So I mean, I think
I got a half page from you for plastic, and it was like $100 or
or
under,
something like that.
Yeah, it was something like that.
You can't even print 1,000 business cards for less than $30.
You're right.
I mean, so we're pretty much printing your cards, and then we're distributing them to a targeted audience. On top of it. So.
So anyone out there, should they just if someone's interested in advertising, should they go to the website that I just
you can go to monstahmag.com and click on the advertising link, and all the info is right there.
All right, perfect. I'm going to share that in the chat here. So if you guys are interested in advertising in Monstah Magazine, definitely check that out. The advertising is definitely affordable. So, and it's got a reader base, so people are going to see it. So check that out. Yeah, all right. I mean, we've been going 90 minutes, so I mean,
flew right by.
Didn't it go by quick? Yeah, it's went by quick. It's crazy.
Yes, it did.
So it's fun. There's always, whenever we have friends on the show, it's always easy to, talk and just.
It doesn't feel like we're doing a show. It feels
right. Yeah, it's almost like we just got together on a Zoom.
Exactly.
It's like COVID times and we're talking on Zoom,
Yeah.
Awesome. But yeah, so Joe, any other socials?
I think I just
what's
just sold a magazine.
Did you really?
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
So,
Look at that.
I'm sure it's not a
we often
coincidence.
say on this show, Joe, that we don't move the needle a lot, but we move it a tiny bit. Usually with our fan base, So.
I'm sure that wasn't a coincidence. So something.
That's great. I'm glad to hear. I'm glad you got a sale from it. What I was going to say is, did you have any socials that you wanted to share for people besides like the websites I shared already?
Yeah, I mean, you can just go to any Facebook or Instagram and just search Monstah Expo.
Monstah
you'll
Expo,
find us.
That's the primary hub where.
I mean, even if you just search Monstah, you'll find us.
Yeah, and it's Monstah
with
spelled
A-H at the end.
Yeah, Monstah instead of monster. So Monstah, like the New England accent,
Exactly.
Massachusetts accent. Yeah, I love that.
It's great when people say it because they already have the accent on top, but they have to like accentuate it even more. So it's the monster guy,
the Monstah Kid.
That's how I hear it. Was the way Johnny says it, Monstah Kid.
Monstah Kid.
I've lived here my whole life. I don't think I have an accent. I don't think I have a New England accent.
Let's hear you say Monster.
Well, I said it. Well, at the beginning, I said monster like an idiot, but it was Monstah.
Yeah, to say it right, you got to say
right.
Going through broadcasting school, they tried like hell to just knock out
get that accent out.
Get the accent out of my voice, and then it's been so long, it's finally come back a little bit.
Well, everyone says green monster. They don't say green monster,
Yeah.
Right. Because if you say green monster and you're from New England, they're gonna look at you like you got 3 heads.
Exactly.
Monster.
Absolutely. Johnny, did you have anything you wanted to shout out this week before we start wrapping up?
I just want to thank Joe for taking the time to come on the show. I mean, you got such a busy schedule. We appreciate you carving out a little bit of time to, share your conventions and Monster Mag with our audience. So thank you for coming on, man. We greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. I want to say if anyone's in the New England area looking for shows to table at, Joe does a damn good job with conventions. There's Retro Expo, which is like a pop culture kind of convention. There's Monstah Expo, which is like a focus on indie horror. And then there's Hexpo, which is like you said, a hybrid of cannabis and horror, right? Horror.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's awesome.
Like cannabis and Halloween, more of a friendly horror.
Cannabis and Halloween,
yeah.
Okay, friendly
it's
horror.
More of a friendly horror. It's not the indie horror that you're gonna get at Monstah with severed penises everywhere and as much blood and gore as you can find.
Yeah, a little more dark on
Monstah's
that
a little bloody.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you with the Hexpo, do you find that people, because everyone's high, like are they buying more because of that? Like because they don't know what they're they're out
honestly,
of their head a little
I
bit.
I feel like it's a split crowd. I feel like the people that are there to get high just stay in the back and get high. And the majority of the people that are shopping, they're shopping. They might indulge a little bit, but they're not getting like blitzed. You know what I mean? They're just kind of experiencing the sound. There's a lot of professionals there. There's a lot of dispensaries and a lot of professional growers, a lot of professional businesses that are there to make contacts and stuff like that. And there's definitely just people that are smoking up a storm in the back all day. They just, I'm here to smoke. And,
Yeah. Hey, I like the idea of it,
it's a fun show. We got a great, the cosplay contest is always cool because it's a different crowd. You're going to see some of the same faces that you see at the show because obviously I have the same followers that follow shows and they go to all the conventions. But you're going to get as someone who does Comic-Cons or someone who does the horror shows, you're going to get in front of a whole new audience. You're going to see 60, 70, maybe even 80% of people that have never seen your stuff before because they're only going to the cannabis shows, like the Harvest Cup and stuff like that. And everybody loves Halloween, especially when you're there and you're in the feel of it. And, this mood is set. People are going to buy that stuff up,
Yeah. I also want to say one other thing about your shows too. Much like Plastic, you are a very affordable convention in this area too. All of your shows, right?
Yeah,
$15 to get in.
Yeah.
I know some days I'm like, all this work for this amount of money,
Exactly.
But
I mean,
I look at it more as like it's a fun thing that well, not fun, but like it's something I'm good at, and like
and I mean, it's not all about the money. It's really not all about the money.
I like seeing the happy people.
It's allowed me to do the magazine. If I wasn't doing the show, I wouldn't be doing the magazine. I wouldn't have made all the connections with the artists and the writers and the people to help me through this, meeting all the celebrities and because I mean a lot of the celebrities like Beatrice, Freddy Krueger's mom, she has her own article in it. She contributes and stuff. So but
you're gonna get Felissa to do something for the Monster Mag.
I'm sure she'd love to. She's so high energy that she's actually great. She gave me no choice. Her and Dave Sheridan informed me that they're coming to New Hampshire, whether I invite them or not. So, they'll.
I love Felissa. Like I've known her for years, and because I actually am friends with. Do you know Jeff Hayes?
No.
Okay, so he's I'm friends with him. He's the guy that started the. So Felissa Rose is the girl from the original Sleepaway Camp, just for the audience so they know who we're talking about. But my friend Jeff was back, 30 years ago, or whatever websites were starting. He was the one that started the official Sleepaway Camp website.
Oh, cool.
And he was the one that kind of tracked down Felissa and all the people from the first Sleepaway Camp movie, including the director and everything. And he was the kind of the catalyst to her having like a new, like her career kind of coming back. Yep. And she started doing more shows and everything. And that's how I met her, because we used to go to like Fango all the time with Jeff, and Jeff would hang out with Felissa, and we got to know Felissa and a couple of the other people from the movie.
Her energy is just uncomparable.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, and like
amazing.
I went like, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 years without seeing her, and then I saw her at one of the Rockin' Shocks a couple of years ago before they ended, and I was like, "Do you remember me?" And she's like, "Yeah, hey Keith," so she knew she remembered me and everything, so it's really cool.
The first time I met her was Scaricon. She was bombed in the hallway, and she stopped in the middle of the hall and yelled at me, "I'm the chick with the dick."
Oh, that's great. She always makes the face too when she's with fans, which I think is great.
Yeah, no, she wouldn't leave the table. She signed all day long. She had a line all day long. She didn't take any breaks. She remembered everybody that had met her before, and it doesn't matter if her fans met her 2 weeks ago. They'll come out and they'll meet her again, because it's such a great
they
experience.
love her. Yeah, they love her. She's great. I was really happy to see her in Terrifier too, actually, which was great. She had a small part in that.
We had Dave Sheridan with us this weekend doing Doofy, and that was a blast. He was super fun. What a great guy.
That's great.
And then the two of them together just work off each other, and they're really fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, so if she goes to the New Hampshire one, maybe me and Amy will come down, even if we don't set up. Just come and check out.
Yeah, definitely. Let me know. We'll get you in.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. Harry, anything you want to shout out before we close down here?
Not really. I mean, maybe next week when we're closer to Halloween, I'll show off some my pumpkin paintings. I mean, that I've done in the past. I mean,
that'd be a little.
I think Joe's monster sculptures inspired me to.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, I try and do a new one every year, but I haven't done one yet this year. But been too busy with
there you go, dude. Yeah. You should be doing the Inktober stuff that Amy does.
I know. I really like those. I've been looking at those. They're pretty cool.
Yeah, it's fun, and like Amy just she just finds the time in the day to do it. Even if or sometimes she'll do 2 in a day just to because she's backed up or whatever. But she likes doing it. So and she comes up with some good stuff.
Now, is she gonna do anything with those? Like do like a book or something, or like
no, she'll take them and she'll sell them as original pieces at the at the conventions, and she just said Sleepaway Camp spoiler with the emoji.
Yeah,
I love it. That's awesome.
You don't get a trick with a dick.
So, yeah, exactly. Yeah, so Joe, thanks for coming on the show. It was great to get to know you a little more. Like I didn't know your early origins, so I thought that was really cool to find out. And also
it all started with an adult man and woman, and then
yeah.
That's the story, at least.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. So everyone will be back again next week live 9 p.m. usual time, Monday night. I forget who the guests are, but we're going right till I think right before December. Christmas. I think we have a show every week, which is crazy. Yeah. So we'll be live. Any final words before I close this out, guys?
Come to Hexpo this weekend, CConk, Sunday the 29th.
Sunday the 29th. Go hang out at this awesome hybrid convention. You'll find something cool to do there, definitely.
Subscribe to Monstah Mag.
Yes. Yep.
And be excellent to one another.
And subscribe to Indie Comics Relay as well.
There you go.
And don't take dumps at conventions. Please.
I can't believe we have to say that, but yeah, we do in this day and age. Awesome. All right. Well, everyone, have a great week. We'll talk to you next week. And most importantly, read some comics. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Right.
Peace.